Dios les bendiga. Gracias por sintonizarse en esta noche. Bienvenidos a todos los que nos están viendo. Sé que es una hora diferente. Usualmente es a las 6 de la tarde, es hora central, pero lo estamos haciendo más tarde. Am, Estamos viendo que hay algunas preguntas que nos han hecho y queremos responderlas. Esperamos poder am, ser de bendición con las respuestas que nos hagan. Em, si me miran así, tengo frío. I don't know why. I'm cold. Um, Maybe because I went outside without a jacket on and took out my dog and it's cold. Um, so, yeah. Um, Saludos a todos los que nos están viendo. Um, and whoever's watching at home, whoever's watching with their families. God bless you. We want to have fun today. Drop some questions. Pongan sus preguntas en los comentarios. Eh, Tenemos algunas ya mandadas y con esas queremos empezar el día de hoy. Um, I'm gonna be as transparent as I can with some of these. Um, you know, like I said, we're gonna have fun. But the first one, la primera pregunta que me hicieron el día de hoy, bueno, sí, una de las primeras preguntas que me hicieron dice, ¿cómo sabes cuando algo es de parte de Dios y no del hombre? Justo anoche estaba teniendo una conversación con alguien acerca de esto. Cómo sabemos cuando algo es de parte de Dios y no del hombre. Y estaba aconsejando a este hermano porque me estaba pidiendo dirección acerca de ello, acerca de varias cosas. Y le digo, siempre la voluntad de Dios va a venir cuando tú ores, tú buscas al Señor en oración y ruego. Pero siempre te va a dar paz. La voluntad de Dios siempre te va a dar paz. Eh, no es algo que te va a traer consecuencias, no es algo que te va a traer um, una inestabilidad a tu vida, que los planes de Dios son perfectos y a veces pueden traer pruebas, pueden traer luchas, pero mientras estás agarrado de la mano de Dios y lo buscas a Él te va a guiar. Dice su palabra que sus pensamientos son más altos que los nuestros, que sus caminos son más altos que los nuestros. Entonces, si tú estás en una relación con Dios, Él se va a encargar de ti. ¿Cómo puedes saber que algo es la voluntad de Él? Cada decisión que tomes con Dios de tu lado te va a dar paz. Cada eh, podemos decir, cada momento, cada, cada momento, cada decisión que puedas hacer o tomar en tu vida te va a traer paz, no va a traer guerra a tu vida, no va a traer algo así, porque Dios es un Dios de paz y te va a dar una paz que sobrepasa todo el entendimiento. Siempre cuando algo es de acuerdo a la voluntad de Dios, es de acuerdo a su palabra, es de acuerdo a sus mandamientos, nunca te va a llevar en contra de lo que dice su palabra, nunca te va a llevar en contra de lo que Él ya ha establecido en su palabra. Siempre va a ser de acuerdo a ello, siempre va a ser de acuerdo a lo que está establecido, porque lo pongo por ejemplo, siempre nos pueden hacer una pregunta como, ¿cómo sé que alguien es la persona correcta para mí? Pero está hablando de alguien que está en el mundo, está hablando de alguien que no tiene una vida espiritual, que no tiene una relación con Dios. ¿Cómo puede decir esa persona, esto es de parte de Dios o esta es la voluntad de Dios? Pero aquella persona, podemos decir, está en un yugo desigual, o sea, es una persona que no busca a Dios, que no ama a Dios, que tal vez va a la iglesia, pero solo va físicamente, pero mentalmente está afuera, no tiene una relación. Entonces, ahí podemos ver rápidamente que no es la voluntad de Dios. So, cualquier, eh, cualquier decisión que Dios quiera, o cualquier decisión que quieras tomar consultando a Dios, Dios te va a guiar a que sea de parte de Él, o sea, sea su voluntad y Él pueda hacer algo en tu vida. Um, Espero que eso responda a la pregunta el día de hoy. Um, Shout out to Sister Abby. God bless you. Um, También otra de las preguntas que me hicieron. That was a good question, by the way. That's a really good question. Let me find the other ones because I didn't write them down. They were just sent to me. Why are you laughing over there? I got asked by somebody, "What's your favorite district?" um, oof. I want to say District 12 because that's where our church is at. Our IPH Austin is the best. It's awesome. I know some of y'all will disagree and you'll say your church, but IPH Austin is the best. It's the best church. If y'all want to join a growing church, a church in revival, IPH Austin is the church right now to go. So favorite district, yeah, I have to say 12 because Austin's in it, and I love my church. I love our people, and I visited 13 out of the 14 districts. The only one I wasn't able to visit, I was like 5 minutes from landing and our plane turned around. So that was crazy. So I can't. I need to go there, and I'm planning on going there this year, but we'll see. Hopefully I'm able to. But yeah, my favorite district would be District 12 because IPUH Austin is in there. So that's the only answer I can give. Sister Abby says, "You mean D1, right?" Add a 2 at the end, and you got it. So D12, yeah. Yeah, D12, 12. Okay, add a 2. Another or not tough question, but serious question. How did you deal with hard times as a PK? Oof, that's tough. And I got a good question after this, but that's pretty good. It's gonna dive, or it's gonna be fun to talk about it. But how did I deal with hard times as a PK? Man, I dealt with it the wrong way. I'm not a good example of it. Of how I dealt with hard times. It's not like I did bad things or anything like that. It's just I shut myself off. I shut myself down. I shut myself off from people. I didn't talk about things. But one of the biggest things that helped me once I realized what I was going down or the path I was going down, one of the biggest things that helped me was surrounding myself with friends that had gone through similar stuff or understood what it was like, and being able to just flourish in between that, being able to trust each other, to understand each other, and being able to talk with each other about things and understand each other. A lot of times we take for granted the friendships that God can give us, or the friendships that God has given us, and we want to go and find an answer, outside of maybe church or in friends that have nothing to do with church, and it's not the answer. If you can keep your eyes focused on God, if you love God, if you can keep your eyes focused on God, that'll help you through so many things. And that's not just for a PK, that's for everybody. If you can maintain yourself focused on Him, it'll help you through a lot of maybe hurt, a lot of pain, because if you allow pain, hurt to separate you from church, to separate you from the Lord, then who you really had your eyes on was not the Lord, it was on people. And that's something I learned a lot. One of the things that I've always said is, um, I'm thankful to I'm thankful to have grown up as a PK. I didn't choose it. It wasn't something I chose. And sometimes the best things or the things that we take for granted, we didn't choose them for ourselves. You know, God gave them to us for a reason. And in every situation that can happen, because one of the things that um I would get caught up in the whole mentality of I'm a PK, or this is and because of that this sucks, or this is bad, or this mentality is, there was a victim mentality. Whether you're a PK, whether you're a young person, you got to remember, everybody's going to go through issues, everybody's going to go through troubles. Don't face it with a victim mentality. If you understand that if you love God, He's with you, He's going to be with you. Um, as a Él va a estar contigo como poderoso gigante. That's what His Bible says. The Word says. Que en Él somos más que vencedores, que hay que confiar que Él ha vencido al mundo. Um, then we're okay. Like, we're gonna be fine. It, I've learned to switch my mindset from a victim mentality from when I was a young teen or a kid or something, to now. I understand who I am in Him. We understand who we are in Him, and that makes all the difference in the world, because things can come on our path. It's okay. It's just part of it. It's just part of it. So how you face them, how you face your struggles, your battles as a teenager, as a youth, as a young person, that's always gonna, what it's always dependent on is your mindset, your mentality. If you remember that God is with you, then there's nothing that can touch you. If He's for us, then who can stand against us? And I think that's one of the biggest things that we have to face is our mentality, our mindset when facing a giant. David didn't back down, and he was a teenager, he was a young man. He didn't back down because he understood who was by his side. It wasn't just I'm gonna take him down, or I'm a better warrior. He wasn't. It said he was a skilled warrior. It said Goliath was a skilled warrior, and he had been fighting since he was young. But how did David take him down? Calling on the name of Jesus, calling on the name of the Lord, and his mindset, his mentality was focused on Him. So, what's your mindset and mentality focused on? If you love God, you're gonna love people, even if people turn their back on you, no matter what. Jesus loved Judas, and He always had him around, and Jesus knew who Judas was. So if He shows that, if that's His example for us to love everybody else, then we had to follow that. So, great question. Drop your questions below. Got a good one next. It said, who's your favorite preacher within IPUH? And who's your favorite preacher outside of IPUH? So, it's two there. Man, that's a tough one. That's a good one. My favorite preacher in IPUH is Arnold Reyes, my little brother. If y'all have never heard him preach, it's because he doesn't like to be seen. He doesn't like to preach. He doesn't like to be behind a pulpit. But he's a great teacher, and I'm trying to push him more. But no, I know that's not the answer people are looking for or something. And I'm kind of joking around because he hates the spotlight. He hates the pulpit and being seen. So, but Arnold Reyes is a great speaker, and he has a lot of wisdom. Surprisingly, he has a lot of wisdom at his very young age. So, but my favorite preacher within IPUH, it depends what you're looking for. I believe it depends what style of preaching you're looking for. I always love hearing people like Pastor Segura preach, Pastor Juan Reyes preach, because you're gonna learn. You're gonna learn as you hear them. You're gonna learn as you go along in that message. But then I like Pastor Chicas when he preaches. If you hear him preach, he preaches simple messages, and he literally says, "I have 3 points," or "There's 3 points, here in this message," or something like that. Like, el primer punto para esto, lo que necesitas para ser victorioso en tu vida espiritual, something like that. He breaks it down by points. It's simple, but it's great. It's anointed. Sometimes those simple messages are the ones that you need in your life, because you're trying to overcomplicate the Word of God, and you're trying to listen for the new profound revelation or whatever, and you need a simple message in your life to get you grounded. They're great preachers. I love Pastor Hurtado, how he preaches. He's a preacher's preacher. And love Pastor Randy, how he preaches. Love Pastor David Quintero. One of the more underrated preachers there is right now is Pastor David Hernandez. I'll throw that out there because he's not seen as much. He's not as known as much. He only served 2 years in national ministry, but he's a fantastic preacher. He's a great preacher. Who else? There's a lot of great preachers in the organization. Pastor Mario Giovanni Flores from Yonkers, New York. Excellent teacher. Excellent preacher. Even better teacher. I'll put it that way. You learn something with him too. He's great. How he breaks down everything. Man, I'm blanking right now. I'm looking at the list right now of all the pastors and how I see them in our directory all the time. Who else? Who's y'all's favorite preachers with an IPH? Drop some names. Maybe we'll one day hear Sister Abby preach or something if she's still on. I think Sister Ana Garcia is fantastic. I think she's a fantastic preacher as well. I'm listing all these, and I'm not even saying who my favorite preacher. But I'm listing all these so out there. My mom is a great preacher. She when she focuses, and I'm putting her out there right now. But when she focuses and puts prayer and time into a preaching, and she gives it her all, which she usually does. She has great wisdom to share, and she's used by the Lord. So they're great. Trying to think of all the districts right now. Let's see. Pastor Sergio Gutierrez from Tercera. He's a great preacher. I love hearing him preach. There's a lot. There is a lot. There's a lot out there. Now, who's my favorite? Oh, man. Y'all are putting me on the spot. Somebody's probably trying to screen record to send it to their pastor or something to say something. Favorite preacher with an IPUH? Drop your comments. Let's see. I want to see who y'all think is y'all's favorite preacher, or who y'all's favorite preacher is. Assistant Pastor Wesley Perla. He's a great preacher too. He's a great preacher, and he just doesn't like to preach for some reason. He doesn't like to be seen preaching, but he's a great preacher. Trying to think who else, man. There's a lot. Like I said, there's a lot of great preachers out there. A lot of great preachers, a lot of great teachers. But yeah, my favorite. Oh yeah, Brother Robert from Central, great preacher too. Yeah, brings the house down too. Somebody said, Sister Giselle Garcia, yes, she preaches like her mom and takes her time like her dad. I remember telling, I don't know if I should be saying that, but I remember saying that whenever, whenever she preached at D1, not this past year, but the preacher heart out the previous year, and she was supposed to preach like 10, 15 minutes, just a quick little preaching, and she ended up preaching for like 40, you know. So it was pretty funny, but she preached really well. Um, trying to think somebody else. Pastors, preachers. See, I'm blanking. It's because whenever I get asked all these questions, I blank. I blank. Um, but I think my favorite preacher in IPUH. Oh man, it's tough. It's very tough. It's very, very tough. My favorite preacher in IPUH would have to be, man, I'll take the safe route. My mom. But no, if I can't choose family, um, man, it's tough because, like I said, there's a lot of great preachers in the organization. Um, but I think, man, this is tough. This is a tough question. um, but I think Pastor Segura is up there. I want to, like I said, I don't have one favorite. Because there's so many different styles of preaching, so many things you can learn from each preacher. Um, but he always drops knowledge in every single one of his preachings. Um, it's fantastic. Pastor Octao, like I said, is great, phenomenal preacher. Um, Pastor Randy's great as well. Um, yeah, that's my favorite IPH preachers. Who are y'all's? I want to hear from y'all. I want to see from y'all. Who are y'all's? I want to hear who's y'all's favorite preachers. And then I also got asked who's my favorite preacher outside of IPUH. Man, there's a lot. Last week I heard a whole bunch that are amazing, incredible. Um, you know, I I really enjoy listening to Pastor Ryan Crossley. That man has no filter. He says it, and he doesn't care. And I love his line. If you hear him preach outside and y está exhortando, if you hear him preach outside of his church, he always says, I have a church in Miami that loves me, that I'm going back to, and I have a wife that loves me. And it's hilarious because I'm like, I feel that. I understand that. I do have a church that loves cuando tengo que exhortar, when I have to preach hard at the church. So I completely get that, and that's an inspiration to me. But I love hearing him. I love Pastor Jason Nunez, phenomenal preacher. Pastor Raymond Woodward, fantastic teacher. Blew my mind last week hearing him speak. Blew my mind. I want to share it with y'all a little bit from his message. What blew my mind, because sometimes we read the Bible or hear about the Bible or hear the stories, and we're like, whatever. We don't really pay attention to it too much. But he was talking about, and he broke it down, and he showed it perfectly how sometimes we think of the disciples as fully matured, 30-year-old, 40-year-old man following Jesus around and serving, serving him. And No, that's not the case. They were teenagers. All of them. The oldest was Peter, and he was probably barely over 20, and he was the only one that was married. And he broke it down like crazy how they're supposed to how they learn um they learn the commandments, they learn um the the Torah, they learn all this, and then at age 15 is when they realize, okay, these are good to keep going. And he broke it down. He's like, these are going to continue on to see something else, to study more. And that's what happened with like like Paul went on to study even more. But those that didn't quite make it, they would stop at that age and now start working for a trade. And that's why you see a lot of them were fishermen. A lot of them were working in like Matthew. He had un publicano. He was a tax collector. They were working in that. And then at age 18 is when they could get married. And that's why you only hear about Peter being married, not the rest. And then you hear whenever Jesus tells Peter to take the coin out of the fish and to go and pay the tax for him and Peter. That tax wasn't collected until they were at least 20 years old, but it was only them two, that paid that tax. So nobody over there was over 10 or 20, excuse me. Everybody else was under that. And then that's why when John lays on Jesus' chest, it says that it would be awkward if it was a grown man, or a young man close to 30 or 33 like Jesus was laying on his chest. But they did it because John looked up to Jesus as a parental figure, as a father figure. So Pastor Woodward was breaking all that down and how they were all teenagers and they all followed Jesus. And that's why John in the Bible mentions in the same chapter how he beat Peter 3 times in a foot race to the tomb. Why? Because a child would do that. He was the youngest. He was probably like 12, 13, It's why he calls himself the disciple that Jesus loved, the favorite, because who would think of that? A teenager, you know? He talked about how they were all John and James, whenever their mom goes to Jesus to try to get them a better place in heaven. Why do they get their mom? Because they're teenagers. What's the other one? ¿Cómo se llama este? Alfeo, el hijo de Alfeo. Judas Tadeo. Tadeo means mama's boy. He's literally mama's boy. Why do they get mad when other children came up to Jesus and surrounded Jesus? Because they were the favorites. They were trying to get those kids away. It's pretty funny. Like it's funny how Pastor broke it down. We were laughing, but it's so true. It blew my mind how they're teenagers. And he really dove deep into that and everything. And great preacher, phenomenal preacher. Right now, I think one of the biggest names right now is Joel Urshan. And it's because, man, he preaches but teaches at the same time. And my goodness, I cannot imagine the pressures on him, on his kids, because, he's 3rd generation Urshan. They're 4th. Just they have to continue with that. And it must be crazy. I understand it just from one generation to the next. I can't imagine their pressure. But Pastor Joel Urshan, phenomenal preacher. One of my favorites for sure. Who else? I'm trying to think of others. Who's y'all's favorite preacher? Whoever's listening right now, because y'all aren't commenting. I wish y'all would. I want to interact with y'all. But there's a lot of phenomenal preachers out there. Man, I said Pastor Crossley, I said Pastor Nunez, Pastor Raymond Woodward, Pastor Joel Urshan, Pastor Tuttle, Matt Tuttle. Oh man, diehard fan. This is one of my favorite preachings of all time. Diehard fan. For sure. For sure, for sure. Who else? Sister Abby says, my pastor. You have to say your pastor. Not playing. Yeah, he's good too. I like how he teaches. I like how he teaches for sure. Trying to think who else. I heard, man, I heard Pastor. Um, you know who else preaches a very simple message, like Pastor Chicas? And I don't know what it is. Maybe it's the years of wisdom or something, but Pastor Bernard. It's just simple message, just little pointers and straight to the point. Like he preached a message last week that was maybe 15 minutes long, maybe, if that. And it was called An Apostolic Church in Corinth, and how in this modern world, in this world that's away from God, we can build an apostolic church. And it was just phenomenal, man. Just impactful. Landon Gore, yes, Landon Gore. Landon Gore is great. Shout out to Landon Gore. Saw him last week. Great guy. Funny guy. Chick-fil-A and Landon Gore go hand in hand. If you know, you know. Man, who else? If y'all have never heard of Pastor Jimmy Morales, I like that guy. He preaches really well too. Pastor, who else? I'm trying to think of who else is out there. Since Sister Abby's the only one commenting, Sister Abby, what about you? Do you preach? Let's see what she says. And if so, is there a stream somewhere that we can go and watch and support? While she's answering that, Pastor Adam Hunley last week dropped a message just about the mind of Christ. Oh man, just fantastic message. It really resonated. Really resonated with my mind. She said no comment. So there is a stream somewhere. Okay. Abby has left alive. No, she's still laughing. The next preacher heart out. Let's go. I want to hear from y'all. I want to hear who's y'all's favorite preacher. Who's y'all's favorite preachers? Who's favorite speakers? I think people have asked me. Awesome. Thank you for the comments, guys. I'll answer the question right now. Brother Tenorio, God bless you. Our people in Canada, peeps in Canada. He's about to be Texan, though. Taylor Fish. How do I put this? I've never heard Taylor Fish. I know he's popular. I know he's well known. I know people love him. I know people like to hear him and everything. I've never listened to him. I really, how do I put it? I like to stay away from the popular, maybe, the ones that are listened to all the time. I don't know. That's just me. And that's just me, like, in everything with, like, music, with books, with, I don't like to follow the crowd, But I've heard he's He's great. Heard he's phenomenal. My understanding, or from the little I know, is that he's from Bishop White's church. Forget the name of it, but Bishop White is a phenomenal preacher, and if he's a submitted young man to him, man, Bishop White has some excellent books on that. And if he comes from his ministry, it really makes sense because of Bishop White's phenomenal ministry of how he's led their church. Somebody in Perth Amboy, God bless you, said, "How can I encourage my church youth more? Any recommendations?" There's different ways, I think. One of the many things that, this might sound counterintuitive, and I don't want it to be taken in the wrong way, because I don't mean it in the wrong way. But sometimes to reach those that are not spiritual, you're not going to reach them by preaching and preaching and preaching to them. You got to be their friend, especially for a young person. You got to be their friend. You got to be their friend and be an example. Okay? A good example, not a bad example. No sirvan de mal ejemplo. Si sirven de algo, si sirven en algo, no sirvan de mal ejemplo. Okay? Be their friend. Honestly, like, one of the things, if we look, and I'm just speaking from our church, the first time we ever took youth to a youth camp, it was 4 of us. It was my brother, me, and 2 brothers. And that was it. Now, this past year to our church youth camp, our district youth camp, we took 20, 22, I don't remember the number. And we were missing some that didn't go. What's been a turnaround? It's becoming their friend. It's doing activities, going out together with people in a group of friends, doing activities that is not focused on the church. They get enough church if they're going to church, but they're not getting involved. They're not on fire for the Lord, let's say. More church is not going to help that. Okay, what's going to help them is they know they have a friend. If you're a youth leader, and I'll put it this way: if you're a youth leader, what's going to help your youth is you being a friend to them, you being an example to them in everything. And then by that, I mean being faithful, being a person of prayer, because they'll see that you have the spiritual side, but then they'll see that you're also down to earth. You're also a good friend. You're also a friendly person, and then they'll see that you're on fire for the Lord. They'll see that you go to the altar. They'll see that you praise the Lord. They'll see that all that. They'll get that from you just by seeing that. But by you being their friend, it opens the door to so many other things. It opens the door to them feeling comfortable to be in that church, and instead of trying to find a friend outside of church, they have friends in church. And so that's helped our church grow, because in our church youth grow, like we're seeing this past week, we were seeing, I was seeing, this young man has had many struggles. If you looked at him in a regular service, you might think, oh, he's cold spiritually. There's no hope for this kid. There's this and that. No, man, we're not going to treat anybody differently. If you're spiritual, if you're not spiritual, they're treated the same. They're treated the same. All the youth is treated the same. And so what does that do? It makes them want to now be part of the spiritual group, But how do you reach that? Being their friend. You're not gonna win them by pushing more church on them, more preaching on them, more preaching on them. No. You take care of what you need to take care of, which is be their friend, love them, show them God's unconditional love, show them how God loves us, show them mercy, show them grace, show them all that, and let God take care of the rest. If they keep coming because of friends, perfect. God will touch their lives in one of the services. God will touch their lives in one of the conferences. God will touch their lives in one of the conventions. But you be their friend. You know, you be an example. You set the example. Um, you know, I personally went through that where I was like, when we were in another church, I was like, and I would think, how can I encourage the youth more? You know, how can we do more stuff for God? How can I get them to love the Lord? And, you know, I quickly realized that you can be as spiritual as you want and it won't do a thing. And you know why? Because these kids grow up in it. They hear it all the time. You know, they're already, some of them are already forced to be in church because of their parents. They force them to be there. So, and they have to be there because they can't leave home yet. But they're thinking, when I turn 18, I'm leaving my house. You know, and so what do they want? They want something different. Perfect. Make church fun. Make church fun to be in. You know, make loving God fun. And it is fun to love God. And people say, no, it's because we can't do this, we can't do that, we're limited on this and that. You don't need to do anything that this world does to have fun. The most fun I've ever had in my life has been around Christian, godly friends. I'll give you that right now. I'll tell you that straight up. You know, I don't even keep in contact with my high school friends anymore. Not because I dislike them or anything. No, I just lost contact with them. But my friends in church, my friends growing up in church, those are the friendships that I've had last the longest. The memories that last the longest. The memories of sitting down and just laughing about stuff, just having a good time, just talking about stuff. That has meant more to me than whatever temporary pleasures the world gave me with those friendships, we could say. So, you know, youth want something real. They don't like something fake. Give them something real. Give them real friendships. Give them a real example. It takes time. It's not easy. It's not easy, but work on it, you know. How can you encourage them more? Don't push them. I mean, obviously, you're going to push them spiritually, obviously. But when it comes down to it, you're a friend. You're a friend, okay? And you're a friend, and you're there for them. You guide them, you help them. And I hope that answers that question. If you have any more questions, you know, feel free to drop them. Feel free to leave them. Great question, by the way. You know, I've always thought, you know, the first youth leader I ever had, because we were always at small churches, and you know, I didn't really have a youth leader. Growing up, I was the youth leader. You know, but the first youth leader I had, he impacted my life, and it wasn't because he would preach to me. He was a great preacher. You know, he had good messages. You know, he took time for spiritual lives and all that. But it wasn't that. It was the fact that he was my friend. We would go out and play soccer. He would take us play soccer. He would go to the park with us. He would take us to the park. He would take us to get ice cream. He would invest in us. And that's a key thing. Invest in your youth. Invest in the people around you. Invest in those that you want to help flourish, that you want to help grow. You know, invest in them. I always tell musicians and singers, invest in the next generation. Stop being selfish with your talents. Stop being selfish with what you have. What God has given you, share it with others. Help somebody else. You know, I'll put, for example, you know, my brother, that kid doesn't even play drums at church anymore. Yesterday we needed a drummer because our main drummer, he was out because I think they're sick, I believe, and all his family is sick on his dad's birthday. They all got sick. It's tough. So we needed a drummer. I look at my brother. I'm like, hey, you're going to play drums? And he's like, no. He's like, no. I was like, fine, I'll play drums. Don't go listen to it live. Actually, please go and listen to it live. I want to hear, I want to hear, um, compliments. I haven't played drums in forever. I'm rusty. My hand was hurting while I was playing. I almost dropped the stick because it was hurting so bad. But um, but this kid, what I was saying, my brother, he's taught other drummers, taught them to grow, and that's why we have this kid that we have playing, phenomenal kid, has so much potential, getting better every week. Why? Because somebody invested in him. I look at I look at the PK band now, and I'm so proud of where they've gone, what they've accomplished, what they're doing. I look at somebody like brother Pipe. I invested as much as I could in that kid, so he could take over later on, and he could be the MD. He could be the music director. And look at him; he's done so much more. Not because of me; he's way better than me, but it's investing in the next generation. I invested in Steven Garcia, phenomenal guitar player. I invested him so much in him. I remember the first time I've mentioned this, but the first time he ever played guitar with us was in a convention in California. Barely knew some scales. Didn't really know chords. They didn't really know the songs. We had to tell him, this and that. We had to guide him and everything. Invested in him so much that in that first time playing, he had been playing like 3 months only, and barely at church. He was playing acoustic guitar at church, not an electric lead. And I threw him for a loop. I had him solo, I had him solo like 3 times, and now he's fantastic guitar player. Invest in your youth, invest in those around you. Go out to eat, go have fun. My brother was saying how we went to this place, this arcade place with go-karts. See, he remembers that. I don't even remember that. But see, those that are impacted are the ones that are invested in. Maybe you won't remember, but they'll remember. Maybe you won't remember that, but they will remember that. They'll treasure that. They'll treasure the fact that you spent money out of your own pocket to take them. Maybe they'll remember that you took time to be with them when somebody else probably didn't. So my point is invest. My point is help them. My point is be a friend. Those things unite y'all. Those things get y'all closer. Those things help y'all help y'all have a more solid youth in the church. And if that helps you, if that helps y'all outside of the church, imagine what that'll do spiritually. Because they'll want to be part of that. They'll want to join. And then that's when their questions will come out. That's when their fears will come out. And that's where you have to be prayed up. That's where you have to be in a relationship with the Lord, because then you'll be able to help them. You'll be able to guide them. So, fantastic question. Fantastic question. Hopefully whoever asked that question, we will see you on March at the Confraternidad. So, any other questions, y'all feel free to drop them. We're very thankful to be hosting this live and having this live. It's been a good time. If you have any more questions, feel free to drop them. Otherwise, y'all won't see me for a good while on Activados. So busy. It's tough. It's tough when your schedule fills up and you have to choose some things over the others. And it's tough. I wish I could do this full time. I believe once I'm able to leave my secular job, I'll have more time to be able to dedicate to Activados, because this is what we love to do. I love to do this. I love to be able to interact with y'all. And I will say, if everybody watching, if you're from wherever you're at, I love our youth. I love our church youth. Being able to travel and meet youth from all different parts of the world. I love our youth. We have a great youth. We have great potential. And wherever you're at, God can use you. Wherever you're at, God is going to use you. Just let let him guide you. Let him take control of your life. Um, let him form you to whatever he wants for you. Because sometimes we want something in our lives, but it's not God's will. Sometimes we want things to go our way, but it's not God's will. Even though it might seem like a really good thing and it might seem like the best thing, maybe He has something else for us. So, yeah, I just want to encourage you, whoever's listening, keep pushing. It's not easy. It's not easy being a young person serving the Lord in this world that we live in, but it's not impossible. I really admire y'all. I actually look up to y'all for being brave enough to be a Christian in this world. So it's not easy, but I very much admire y'all. So I love our youth. I love our church youth all over. I think we have a great youth, and I think God is gonna do great things. So one of the things I want to say is um, be a be a help to your pastor. Help them wherever you're at. Um, you know, be somebody he can rely on. It's as pastors we need that in our lives, and we need somebody that we can rely on, and sometimes even more than one person. Because there's so much to do in this in the ways of the Lord. There's never a moment when it'll calm down or it'll die down. No, there's always something to do in the Lord. So I encourage y'all. Keep working, keep pushing. It's not easy, but it's not impossible. Love the Lord with all your heart. If you love Him, you're gonna follow Him. So, any other questions? Feel free to drop them. If not, we're gonna be wrapping it up. And like I said, y'all won't see me for a while on Activados, unfortunately. If y'all do, it was not unplanned and out of nowhere. But we got some great shows coming up. Got some great episodes coming up. En Casa con los Millanes making a comeback. They're coming back with some really great topics. There's actually a new show that's being planned. I have a name and plan for it, but I don't want to say it just because it'll give it away. But it's gonna be great. It's gonna be great. So there's a lot of projects and plans in place, and a lot of great things that we want to be able to reach the youth with. Keep sharing, keep subscribing with somebody. Subscribing to the channel and keep sharing this with somebody. If y'all remember, at 1,000 subscriptions, Brother Israel gets to shave his head. Oh, it's for the end of the year? The end of this year. And I'm going to shave it live on Activados. So, oh man, there's arguments going on backstage, behind the scenes. But no, keep supporting. I know we really haven't posted as much. Like I said, it's just been busy. Pastor Wesley's married, and that takes time. You have to dedicate time to your family. That's why I don't get married. No, I'm joking. But we've just had busy lives, and we're working, we're pushing. There's some great things coming up that we're excited about. That once we're able to realize them and get them in order, we're gonna share with y'all. So maybe merch. I'll just throw it out there. It might be finally time for y'all to see our merch and see what we can do. Hopefully it happens. We might finally get our website up and running, as we've talked about for the past 5 years. But There's some great plans in motion. Keep praying for us. We love you guys, and we do this because we love the youth of our church organization and everybody that takes time to listen to us. So God bless y'all. We love y'all. We're excited for what this year is going to bring. We hope you've had a great time with me today, and we hope you keep supporting us. We are always here to help in anything we can, and I think I think we've said that many times, but we always want to encourage somebody. If we can just encourage one person with this program, we're being successful. And many times a lot of channels make it about the views, make it about the subscriptions, make it about all of that. For me, it's not about that. For me, it's the connection, the personal connection with somebody. Like today, this has been great. The questions, I love doing this because it allows me to connect one-on-one with y'all. So we want to impact at least one person's life. So that's why we do this. We don't do this for fame. We don't do this for anything else. We don't do this to be known. No, Lord knows I hate the spotlight. I don't like being seen anywhere. I like keeping a private life. I like being behind the scenes. That's where I wish I could be. But we're here to help, here to try to impact somebody's life, just like there were others before us that impacted our lives. So we love you guys. Thank you for watching. Anything y'all need, we're always here. And stay tuned for next week because there's going to be a great episode coming up. God bless each and every one of you, and we hope to see y'all soon.